Welcome to the Analyst Inside Cricket with me, Simon Hughes, and no Simon Man, but today I'm delighted to say we've got Deep Dasgupta, the former Indian batter and wicketkeeper and commentator, with us to talk through the day's play, the first day of the fourth test. India finishing it on 264 for 4. And Betfair, who of course are supporting this podcast, started the day with England at 50% potentially winning. India 31% and a draw 19 after England won the toss and put India in. Middle of the day, about even Stevens, 40% each team when India were 200 for 3. And then at the end of the day, England just sneaked ahead slightly, 42% to India's 35%. The draw still hovering actually at around 20%. The weather isn't great here, is it? I mean, as you know from being here many times, the weather in Manchester is a little bit unpredictable, but we're hoping to get a full 5 days play. Deep overall, honours even, or India in front? What do you think?
I'd go with those odds there. I go with those numbers there because I think England's ahead, especially with the injury to Rishabh Pant. If he's not going to take the field, then for all practical reasons, India are batting with 10 guys and then they're 5 down already. And also the second new ball is due. So I'm sure the first thing that England would do is take that second new ball and then overcast conditions. So looking at that, and India needs to get 350 at least. So I'd say England ahead at this point.
Yeah, 264 for 4. I mean, it's not a bad score, is it? But how bad do you think that Pant injury is? I mean, we saw him, he played some wild shots again today. He tried to reverse hook Jofra Archer at one point. Extraordinary, sort of tried to do it right-handed, and he played some other amazing shots. He hit cast back over long on for 6, huge shot, amazing shot. He tried to reverse sweep Wokes to a slower ball and got hit on the sort of front toe, didn't he?
That's right.
How did you see it?
It didn't look good, to be fair. The ambulance was there. He struggled to even put his foot down on the ground. It doesn't look good. So that's all we can say till we get any confirmation as such. But like I said, if he doesn't take the field, that is real bad news for India. There's no two ways about it, and that's a big setback.
Yeah, no, it is, and unusual actually seeing. I've never seen. The last time I saw an ambulance on the field at cricket actually was Roland Butcher, my former Middlesex colleague, who was hit on the head in a county match, and we had the ambulance on. It's horrible. I mean, he was hit on the head, which was even more serious. This time, hit on the foot. A golf buggy has a sort of ambulance, quite an unusual sight. But anyway, hopefully not too much damage. Overall, actually India, they got to 90 odd for no wickets. So no wickets in the morning session. What did you think about that? Because actually the ball did affect no wickets.
It did. I thought the Indian openers batted really well. But also, what I was a little surprised of, could have done differently, is the second session where India lost 3 wickets but scored at 2.7 an over or something. Even though, like you said, the ball was doing a bit, I don't think this pitch is as good to bat on as the previous one. I was talking to Sai Sudarshan after the game and he mentioned that it's a little too paced, variable bounce as well. But I still thought, even though India did not lose wickets, but then the game didn't go out of England's hands either, because the runs were being scored at a slowish rate. So you always, and that's how I see it, games like these, you look at the scoreboard, you add 2 wickets, then you get the real idea of where this game is. And every time you added a wicket or 2, India wasn't really far ahead in the game. And that's where I thought, even though India didn't lose wickets, but it wasn't out of England's hands either.
Are you sort of arguing for a sort of Bazball approach from India in a way? I mean, they've got these guys like Sudarshan and Pant and others who are T20 specialists, who can play an aggressive game.
Even look at this generation, even if they play normal cricket, which India has been playing, India has been playing so-called Bazball cricket, but India has been scoring generally at around that 3.5, at times 4 as well. But then I'm talking about the intent, and you saw that intent when Rishabh and Sai Sudarshan were batting. I mean, England was still bowling well. Maybe the ball was on the softer side, wasn't doing as much. But the intent, every time they defended as well, they actually defended and were looking for a single rather than just going behind the ball and defending, and that's it. So that intent was quite visible, and maybe I just thought maybe. But again, credit to the English bowlers. They bowled really well, especially to someone like Dishaswich as well. I thought they bowled very tight to him, didn't allow him to open up his arms and
And actually, he looked tighter today as well. I thought he seemed to play the ball a little bit later, and he's got out at Lords, didn't he, playing a sort of slightly wild hook shot,
Yeah.
and he's got out a couple of other times, perhaps when he should have kicked on. So
Yeah.
maybe was he just sort of playing, reining himself in a bit?
I thought so as well. I mean, we've seen him do that. This is not his slowest 50. He's got a couple of 50s of 130 balls in Australia, I think MCG and Brisbane, if I'm not wrong. So he's got it in him as well to play the way he did, in this innings. But then, yeah, I mean, that's the only thing. I mean, again, I don't want to be overcritical about it because end of the day, against a good bowling side, on a pitch which was doing a bit, I think they batted well. Maybe, just maybe, because looking at that partnership, Sai Sudarshan and Rishabh, you saw a little bit of a difference.
I mean, so a 94 opening stand, which was pretty good. Rahul got out, caught at slip off Wokes. Then Jaiswal got out to Liam Dawson, his 7th ball back.
Yeah.
8 years between Test wickets. I bet you don't know who his previous Test wicket was.
South Africa.
Yes.
And was it Hashim?
Oh, you knew. You knew already, didn't you? Hashim Amla was his last Test wicket. Now his next Test wicket is Jaiswal. So he sort of almost straddled generations there. And fantastic to see. I watched Liam Dawson bowl a lot actually recently, and it was lovely to see him back in the team and bowling, wheeling away as he does his left arm spin. Got one that just didn't turn, and Jaiswal played with the spin. I thought perhaps actually he might have been a bit late on it as well, because he bowls quite quick, doesn't he, Dawson? He bowls sort of 57, 58 miles an hour. Maybe just a bit late and caught it slip. So,
And you've seen a lot of him. This is a question for you. The fact that he's played so much of first-class cricket in these 8 years, do you think he's more comfortable in his skin right now after the way he bowled? Just doing the basics, is getting that line and length right. That's all he did, right? And that's all you need to do, right? Most of the time.
yeah, I think I've talked to him a bit actually, and I know what one thing is he's learned from Jadeja, from bowling, watching Jadeja bowl in Test cricket, and he's sort of modelled a little bit of himself on, because he used to bowl very wide of the crease and sort of mainly sort of sling it in towards the batter, but now he actually varies his position on the crease, gets a bit closer in, he bowls sort of wicket to wicket as well, tries to look for the LBW, so a lot more spinners now. See, it's funny because if you play county cricket, you don't have DRS.
Right.
So you don't get as many LBWs as you might do if you play Test cricket, where you can review decisions which are given not out. You can try and beat the inside edge of the bat, hit the batsman on the pads as much as you can beat the outside edge. So I think actually he might have quite a sort of positive experience in the next few months. If he plays more Test cricket, he might get more LBWs, but he's definitely learned from watching how Jadeja operates, and it was lovely to see that wicket. I'd like to talk a little bit, as we're in the stand, by the stand here, which was today named after two great Lancastrians. I say that sort of in inverted commas. So Clive Lloyd, who played here for many years, I played against him a few times. In fact, once he hit me over the 6 into that pavilion when the square went the other way round. So the square was upright to what it is now, and he hooked me into the pavilion just by the left turret there. Oh my God. And Farouk Engineer, the other great Lancastrian who played here for many years. So this stand is named after the one behind us. But Sai Sudarshan also reminded me of someone who had a history at Lancashire. Not because he played for Lancashire, but because he made his Test debut here. And that was Ranjit Singh. A long time before any of our listeners were born or even thought about, Ranjit Singh played for England in the 1890s. And the funny story about him, actually, he wasn't selected for the first Test of a series in 1897 because it was at Lords, and the selectors were people from the ground. So the MCC selected the team for the Lords Test match, and they said, no, we can't have people who are born overseas. So Ranji wasn't selected. And meanwhile, of course, the chairman of selectors was Lord Harris, who was also a former England captain. He was born in Trinidad. So the chairman of selectors said, oh no, we can't have someone born out overseas, when in fact he had been born overseas and played for England previously. So absolutely ridiculous hypocrisy. Anyway, Lancashire thought, well, the second Test was here against Australia, and they said, right, well, we're going to have Ranjit Singh in the England team for the second Test. And guess what? He made 70 and 150 on his Test debut. It's one of the greatest ever Test debuts played on this ground at Old Trafford in about 1897. And the way he played, he was famous for being light on his feet, for wristiness, for sort of, working it through the leg side and leg glancing and things like that, and sort of playing with this grace. And I thought Sudarshan sort of was a bit of a throwback as well.
I mean, yes, I have to be fair. I haven't really seen him back, but obviously heard about him, the famous leg glance and flick and all
And of course,
that.
the competition that you played in India for many
Obviously,
years.
first class cricket.
Named after Ranji.
Yes, it's called the Ranji Trophy, named after him. And listen, looking at Sai Sudarshan, there's no doubt he's got so much of potential. He looked a little tentative, you can understand that. Playing only his second game, didn't do very well on his debut. But then only the second half of his innings, he started to open up a little bit more. He started playing his shots a little more. And that's when you start to see the real Sai Sudarshan, who we've seen in the past in domestic cricket and IPL as well. He's the highest run getter from last season. Listen, more to come from this youngster, no doubt about it. It was lovely to see him get some.
And in fact, he was one of 5 Indian batsmen. They all got into double figures.
Yeah.
But I suppose if they look back on the day, they'll say one of them should have gone on and made a bigger score, including Sai.
100%, because something I was talking to Sai after the game and after play, and he said this pitch has something in it for the bowlers. He says you never stand on this pitch. There's either there's a little bit of variable bounce or the base bit, or it seeps around a little bit because then the grass is kind of patchy there. So you're really not set on this pitch, and that's what we saw. Like you mentioned, a lot of guys look good and they look set, but then suddenly something happened from the pitch, or whether they played a poor shot.
So time for the Betfair exchange, where we debate an issue that the game has aroused. And I want to talk about balls today, Deep, because there's been a stat that's come out during this series that the pitches have been very batting friendly. And there's been a number of reasons for that. The dry summer, the outfield tending to sort of draw a lot of the moisture off the pitches, so the pitches are very dry. Balls, we'll come to that as well. Batters, bigger bats, more powerful batsmen, shorter boundaries, lots of reasons. But so far in this series, there have been 1800s. The record for an English summer is 22 in a test summer. And also the batting averages are now at 31 of the last 3 years per wicket, and there were 27 in the few years before that. So clearly batsmen have had a pretty productive summer, one of the most productive summers we've had in England. Now, is it to do with the pitches? Is it to do with the balls? Partly to do with the pitches, but we're just going to talk about balls a bit today because they have been a topic of conversation consistently. Are they substandard? Why do they keep changing them? We've got 2 balls here which are quite interesting. So this one is a ball from this summer, a Duke's ball from this summer, and you can see it's not that old, but it's quite sort of dull in appearance. It hasn't got a good polish on it. It's not out of shape yet, but it feels like a ball that I wouldn't really want to bowl with. It hasn't got a great shine on it. Now compare that with the one you've got, Deep, which is from a lot longer ago, 10 years ago, and it's got a much richer polish on it. It's a darker ball compared to that one as well, if you're watching this on video.
And the other thing, which obviously viewers might not be able to figure out, is how proud this seam is as compared to this one.
Yes.
This is already kind of embedded. Now this is still kind of nice and proud, and that's something that you always remember of playing here in England with Duke's ball was this seam. And that's the reason. I still remember Ashwin a few years back was asked, you've played with Kookaburra, SG and Hughes, which one would you prefer? He actually said Hughes because of the seam. And also generally, the Hughes ball was always kind of smaller, so it was easier to grip for spinners, even for seamers. I'm sure you would. Back then. Now when I look at this new lot this summer, one is the seam, the color. I always remember it used to be as dark as this, like apple rather than brightish red, and also the leather weight. I don't know. Even if you don't shine it for long, this will still swing. It just gives me that feel. But this, I know I need to work hard with this ball in terms of, it's a slideless man now, but you sweat, all of that. So there's definitely a change in terms of the ball.
Yeah, and it's obviously we're not sort of trying to have a go at Dukes here, because I know that their factory sort of situation has changed. The tannery they use went bust, so they had to use another tannery, and they get leather from a different place, or they get the original leather from a different place now. So it's much harder to sustain the quality. And you know, Dilip Jajodi, who's the owner of Dukes, has said to us before that you know he can't control the supply of the leather, and he's a bit disappointed with it. But do you think if the balls aren't going to be as good, do we need pitches that do a bit more? I mean, you're an old batter, so I guess you would say you quite like these pitches.
I actually, in red ball cricket, I don't mind bowling friendly pitches because there was, at least a while ago, if you look at the numbers, not England but overall, the test numbers are tilted a little towards bowlers of late. Whereas the white ball cricket, it's towards batters. So I'm absolutely happy with white ball being a little more batting friendly, but red ball being bowling friendly. Because what happens is, if the pitches or the conditions are bowling friendly, it's more entertaining because every ball becomes an even. But if there's nothing in it for the bowlers, then it kind of, even though you might not get high scores, but it's not eventful enough. You have things happening in patches, right? But with bowling friendly conditions, I believe, the game becomes, or test match cricket becomes more eventful. Every over, every ball becomes an event. There's something or the other happening. That's more entertaining, and that's what we want to see from test match cricket. We want test match to be more entertaining.
I certainly think Ben Stokes would back you up there, because he's been disappointed by the standard of the pitches, the lack of bounce, lack of pace at them, which coupled with the ball has made for some sort of dullish sessions. But anyway, it is what it is for this year. So just one other sort of topic. Today, the key moment, or a key moment, was when Jamie Smith behind the stumps missed a regulation catch down the leg side off Syed Sudhaj, who were trying to work it away on the leg side, a bit like how he was out at Headingley actually, and he got a little inside edge, and the ball sort of hit Jamie Smith almost in the chest. Your view on Jamie Smith's keeping, and as a former keeper yourself, and perhaps someone who doesn't regularly keep for his county, playing Test cricket, keeping for England?
He's been a safe keeper, let me put it this way. He's kept well. Hasn't been outstanding. I still believe Ben Foakes, for me, is the best keeper in the world right now. But he's been safe, and he's been good as well. I'll use that term for him. But this one, the only thing was, which with the naked eye is difficult to see in England, why keeping is difficult is because the ball keeps swerving all the time, and we haven't seen it in the last 3 test matches as much, but this particular ball, if you see it, at the last moment it came back into him. So it was very difficult because he was in the air by that point. He couldn't adjust his hand at the right time. So it swerved back in and hit him on his chest rather than his hands. So I can understand, having kept here in the past, that can happen. And so even though it looks regulation on television, naked eye, it doesn't seem like it's done a lot. But if you look at it closely, it does swing back into him very late, just in front of his hands. That makes it very, very difficult. So, yeah, while, like I said, it looks regulation, but
it's harder than it looks, basically, that catch. Okay, fair enough. Well, it was one that could have been caught, obviously, and at the time Sudarshan was on 20, he went on to make 60. I'm glad to see he got his first 50, actually, because he's done incredibly well in the IPL, hasn't he? And he's been able to convert that today in a much more circumspect way. One other little talking point today, Ben Stokes, again, the leading wicket taker for England, 2 wickets, kept going incredibly well. Do you know he's now taken the same number of test wickets as Freddie Flintoff?
Wow.
226 test wickets at a slightly lower average, very marginal, 0.1 of a run less than Freddie. So he's amazing, isn't he?
He is amazing. I'll tell you why I think he's amazing. Because one, he always is kind of ahead of the curve in terms of thinking how to get somebody out. His construction of an over is so fascinating. He would bowl, even if he's bowling just one line and length, you'll see all those 6 deliveries, different pace. We keep talking about spinners and their variation and pace, but seamers can do that as well. I still remember Zaid Khan would do that. 2 balls in an over would be this effort and the other 4 would be normal, not come in and bowling at 100%. because those that then as a batter, that was like a surprise delivery, the effort ball. And you see that with him as well, the bounces. Now there's a huge difference again, getting a bouncer at 82 miles and an 86 miles. Suddenly, the 4 extra miles that hurries the batter. You thinking, oh, he's bowling at 82, and suddenly one ball comes at 86, you're late on it, fractionally late, and that's enough to beat the batter, and that's what he does. And obviously, he's got all that skill as well. I mean, his action, he falls back a little bit, pushes it in. So what happens is that the angle that he creates with that action, and with that action, he actually bowls away swiftness, which is such a difficult thing to do. With that action, as a right-hander, I'm thinking it's coming back into me. But then, from there, he gets the ball to shape away. So skill set, his IQ, cricketing IQ is superb.
I just can't believe how fit he is as well. After all these incredible injuries, he's tearing into bowl over after over. And bowling, as you say, that speed of sort of 87, 88 miles an hour, it's quite remarkable. And probably more to come tomorrow. So just to finish, Betfair has a couple of markets for leading wicket taker and runs tomorrow. It's 4-1 for Liam Dawson to be England's leading wicket taker in the first innings. Possibly Stokes might sneak ahead of him. I can't see Liam Dawson bowling that much because obviously it's a new ball in the morning, as you said, and probably he might have to wait a while. So probably I'm thinking maybe Stokes leading wicket taker. What do you think? Or Jofra?
I'd go with Stokes because even, I mean, looking at set batters and you're looking at that bowling attack and you picking your bowler to get a set batter out, he will then Stokes. So yeah, if he's going to bowl as much as he has or he's done the series, I'm going to go with Stokes.
Okay. And for batting, it's 5-2 for Zach Crawley to make at least a 50, where of course here he made 160 odd against Australia a couple of years ago. That's not a bad guess. 5-4 for Joe Root to get a 50, where he got 260 here. So I think that's probably a better bet, actually. Joe Root to get at least a 50 here tomorrow. And what do India need, do you reckon, on this pitch?
First of all, bare minimum is 350 is what I think. So yeah, first see through the second new ball and then go on. We don't know what the Rishabh situation is right now, so just think beyond Rishabh, the batter, as of now, and try and get 350, because I think this pitch will have something for the bowlers and for the spinners as the game progresses.
Yeah, I think you might be right there, actually, because the average runs per day is about 41 on the first day at Old Trafford, and it goes down to about 21 on the fifth day. So clearly, that batting does get harder as it goes on. I certainly would like to bowl with this lovely old Duke's ball. If they had a few of those around, I might even make a comeback. Listen, Deep. Anyway, thank you very much for your time. We'll be back tomorrow, of course, to review the second day's play. Thanks very much for listening. Done.
Lovely.
Thank you, mate.
Thank you.
And thank you for bringing that ball.
Yeah, I mean,
That's a goodie.
Because
added to the story.
So what I was planning to do with the Geo guys is there